how much does it really cost to live in the Philippines? So in this video, we're going to go through everything and we're going to make a list and we're going to add up the total cost of living in the Philippines. Now, the example I'm going to give you is one where you live a very good life. I'm not going to give you like the cheapest way to survive in the Philippines. So the number we come up with at the end can actually be reduced quite a bit. This is not a video where I'm going to give you, ways to cut corners or ways to live as cheaply as possible. Instead, I'm going to give you what it costs to actually live in the Philippines and have a good life, to be able to buy the things you want to buy and enjoy life. All right, let's start with rent. And I'm going to tally the list as I go through this video. So for rent, in a nice condo with security, with amenities, with a gym and a pool, most condos here have gyms and pools. For a studio or a one bedroom that's decent, you can usually find something for about $600. Okay. Now, again, you can find something much cheaper, and you can certainly pay a lot more. You can pay 1,200 for a one bedroom. You can pay 1,800 for a two bedroom if you want to do that. But honestly, you can find something really, really nice for about $600 with security, full service at the lobby, just everything you need. If the power goes out, you'll have a backup generator, everything you need for about $600 a month. So rent is about 600. Utilities, so like water and electric, I would say let's just use a high-end number for this. Again, a high-end number. Let's say it's going to be $110 for both water and electric. So I'm going to write that down. And that's basically you running the air conditioning on full blast all day, right? So you always have the air running. It's never going to be hot in your condo, even though it's hot in the Philippines. You're going to be cold. Right now, I'm actually a little bit cold, and I'm in a condo, and I'm actually a little bit chilly, and it's hot outside because the air is running. Internet. We're going to assume that you're getting the best possible internet without breaking the bank, so something really, really fast, over 500 megabits per second. So let's say that's $60, which is on the high end. Again, these numbers are overestimates. Okay, so I'm giving you a number that can definitely be reduced. So we've got internet, electric, water, the rent, groceries. Okay, so for groceries, I'm going to include things like toilet paper, toothpaste, things you have to buy to live. Um, I'll assume these numbers are for you or for you and someone else. Let's call it $150 a week, which is a lot. You can eat in the Philippines, you can buy groceries, you can buy your toothpaste, your soap, your conditioner, all of that for way less than 150 a week. But we're going to call it 150 a week because that's going to allow you to splurge, right? You can buy extra stuff, right? And sometimes you have unexpected costs, right? Sometimes you might need to buy a t-shirt or a pair of shoes. So this, we won't include it in that, but let's just raise that number just so you have it. Eating out, let's assume, so usually when you eat out, it's usually less than $10, and oftentimes it's less than $10 for two people. That's if you go to a restaurant. If you are going to eat in an eatery, it's just a few dollars. So let's assume it's $200 a month. So $50 a week for eating out. That's pretty reasonable. Transportation, let's assume that you go out 5 times a week in a grab. So let's just say that's going to be 200 a month. So it'd be $50 a week. So 200 a month for transportation. I'm assuming that you don't have a motorbike or anything else. The gym, I'm not going to include that cost because the gym is something that is usually included. When you have a condo, most condos have gyms and pools. And if you have a US phone number and you're trying to keep it, you'll have to pay for a US phone plan. So depending on what you get, let's just say $35 for that. I'm trying to think of anything else. Medical care, I mean, miscellaneous expenses, let's just go nuts and add $500 a month for that. So 500 for random expenses, a pair of shoes, clothes, you get sick, and by the way, medical care here is very inexpensive. A doctor's visit is usually less than $10. Going to the dentist is extremely cheap. So it's a very low cost place to live. So I'm going to hit enter here on the calculator. We're at $1,855. Okay. And We basically covered everything. We covered rent, utilities, internet, groceries, eating out, transportation, and keeping your US phone number. And we threw in an extra 500 a month for random expenses, and we're only at 1855. So that's the cost of an apartment in Seattle, right? If you get a small one bedroom or a small studio in Bellevue, I mean, in a nice area, it's going to cost you $1,800. That's the full cost of living in the Philippines. So I just wanted to give you that estimate. And so, yes, that can be lowered. We threw in a lot. We threw a lot in there that didn't need to be so high. For example, the food. You don't need to spend that much on groceries. The extra 500 we threw in there, you don't. That's a lot. The frequent transportation, we assume that you were taking a Grab, which is like Uber every day, 5 days a week. So Monday through Friday, you're going to go somewhere. You're going to take a Grab and go to the mall, the beach. You're going to be out all the time. We included that, right? Eating out, we included that. The rent at 600, you can get something for less. You can get something for 400 or for 300, right? So you can live with less. So I know there's a lot of videos where like, can you live in the Philippines for $1,000? Yes, you can, but ideally you're making more money and you're here. And so you can raise your budget and you can live a better life because this is your one life and you want to live your best life, my friends. So 1855, I think, is more than enough. We can call it an even 2000. So for less than $2,000 a month, you can have a very good life in the Philippines. And, you have to think about other things. A lot of times we have subscriptions like Netflix. You might have a Canva. I have a Canva subscription. So, if you use other things for work, other productivity tools, if you have other subscriptions, you're going to be paying for those, but you're not paying for car insurance. You're not paying for health insurance. Um, oh, I forgot to include a Philippines phone number, but that is extremely cheap. That's like another $20 a month or something, $30 a month. So it's not that expensive. So that doesn't really inflate the price too much. So yeah, Philippines, great place to live. It's not perfect. It's not without its problems, but it is affordable. So if you're looking for an affordable place to live, the Philippines is one that you could live in. Oh, I did forget to include something, but again, it's still going to keep it under 2,000. So when you're here as a person from the U.S. or from another country, you do have to pay to be here. You're granted a certain amount of time here. I believe it's 60 days or 30 days. I forgot. It's been a while, and then you have to go to immigration and pay to stay here longer, and then you have to pay like every 2 months or every 3 months. There's a tiered list, and I think you end up paying like $85 or something or $80 for several months, and then you pay again, and the price goes down. So that's still going to keep it under 2,000. The immigration fees that you do have to pay to the government, um, it's still going to keep everything under 2 grand. So yeah, subscribe, like, share. I post all kinds of content on this channel. I hope it's been helpful. Less than 2,000 a month, and you will live a very comfortable life in the Philippines. Take care.